Hey guys, this is YGO Silence coming at you with a video I'm going to call Preparing for the Link Format. I'm also going to talk about the OCG ban list that recently dropped and kind of just have a little bit of a spitballing session with you guys. So just sit back, relax, and we'll get right into it. To start off, I want to talk about the competitive scene right now. A lot of you guys are probably not doing the competitive scene, not doing WCQs, not doing nationals, not going to worlds, alright? And that's okay. That's what most people are doing. Only a small portion of the Yu-Gi-Oh community, gets their invitation, goes to worlds, does stuff, has a, victory at worlds, stuff like that. Most people aren't doing that. Most people right now are just chilling at, locals, having a good time, spitballing, thinking about, hey, what do I want to play? What do I want to do to have some fun, And that's what Yu-Gi-Oh is about. It's about having fun. Now, I love having fun, but I also like being as smart as you can with your money. And Yu-Gi-Oh is not a cheap hobby. So what you want to start thinking about right now is what you want to play after this competitive scene is over and link format comes into effect. Alright, the meta is going to change drastically. And a lot of the decks that are good now are not going to be playable, and a lot of the decks that are, barely playable right now are suddenly going to become good. And I'm not saying Cloudians are suddenly going to become tier 0 unbeatable status, but I am saying, some of those more rogue options like Cosmo, are suddenly going to become absurd. And so you got to start thinking about that now. Decks I would highly recommend building right now are Dark Lords, Cosmo, Monarch, Phantasm Spiral. I always recommend Phantasm Spiral. And those are just decks you should really think about playing. The main thing I came up with, and this is kind of a theory on my part, but I do think it is valid, and that is the 2-deck system that's going to be coming into effect in the Link format. And I could be just being too broad with this, but I think the decks are going to fall into 2 categories. That is, decks that utilize the Link summoning mechanic and those that don't. And it's kind of broad, and kind of stupid, but I think it's pretty accurate, in that decks that utilize the Link mechanic are going to go into their extra deck a million times more, whereas decks that don't have any Link monsters are not going to go into it at all or just barely, and they're going to have, 3 cards in their extra deck because that's all they want to play. And so what I'm saying right now is think about the latter option, the in-deck boss monsters, such as Dark Lords, where you're not going into the extra deck to get your big badass boss monster out. You're going into your main deck. You're searching it out. You're pulling it out. And so you want to think about these decks right now, this instant, because after Link Summoning drops and people figure out what's good, you could have missed out. And these decks that are kind of rogue status right now, such as Cosmo, are suddenly going to become absurd. Dark Destroyer is probably going up, and I would highly recommend playing Cosmo. Dark Lords, I think Ixchel is going to skyrocket. All these decks that utilize these boss monsters in the main deck and don't go into the extra deck for them, they're going to become much better, much more playable, because you don't have to deal with the Zodiac. Now, you guys may be wondering why I didn't mention True Dracos. True Dracos were absolutely destroyed in the OCG. The ban list dropped, True Dracos are dead. You can't use them. Diagrams at 1, Masterpieces at 1, Terraforming's at 2. I mean, the list goes on. You can't do any Zoo variants because, they killed Broad Bull outright. And so the meta is going to change drastically. Now, this is both good and bad. Whenever the meta changes, there's always a lot of griping, oh, I spent $500 on this True Draco deck and I got to play for 3 months. That's what you guys signed on for, unfortunately. And that's why I always have enjoyed playing kind of the rogue tier 2 stuff, like Dark Lords, and that Konami really never goes after those decks, They may hit an engine in there, like they may hit Terror Top, they may hit something of the like, but they never go after the cards of that archetype, like they would, Zoo, True Draco. Alright, you're only going to get to play those tier 1 decks for a few months, and you guys have to have known that. So what you need to do now is start thinking about what you want to play after this, because if you're not going to any big tournaments and you have Zoo cards lying around or True Draco cards lying around, sell those now. If you have Masterpiece, sell, alright? Very weird to say, alright, and I would always say, oh, keep your Masterpiece, it's a great card, it's always good, it could go into many different decks. Lose it except one. All right, because it's going to 1. All right, I'm calling it now. Masterpiece is going to be at 1. Diagram, they have it at 1 in the OCG. I wouldn't be surprised if they banned it because the card is too splashable. It goes into too many decks. A lot of these decks are not going to be playable, But as you see, with these cards that came out in Maximum Crisis, a lot of the meta that was there before Maximum Crisis is probably going to be back. Pure Dino is not a bad deck. You could pick it up for the price of 3 structure decks. I mean, that's extraordinarily cheap. Very cost effective. And I mean, if you want to really put some money into it, put $15 more into it. I mean, buy some of the extra deck monsters, Logia, Dulka, because those are the only ones you need. And so, these decks that not a lot of people use, but everybody knows about because they have always worked effectively. They're not limited or semi-limited or anything like that. They're at full power. And right now you may be thinking, oh, they're garbage though. I mean, they're tier 2, tier 3. You're never going to play them in a competitive setting. That may be true right now. But 3 months from now, they could be the best deck on the market, and you could be sitting on a gold mine. Alright, which is how I feel right now with my Dark Lord deck. I'm super excited. It's going to be fantastic. And I'm excited about Yu-Gi-Oh! Again, which is just something you always want. It's a game to have fun. And when you go into a competitive setting and you're just like, oh, I'm going to see Zoo, I'm going to see True Draco every time, it gets kind of annoying. And you want that refreshing game. Like, when I was at Regionals, I played this Blue Eyes guy. And it was refreshing. It was so nice to be like, wow, I have no idea what this guy's going to do. And I loved every second of it. I managed to beat him, but it was enjoyable. It was fun. It went to game 3. I had a good time. And this new format, I'm excited because I think people are going to have fun again. And it's not going to be annoying and stupid. And yeah, trick stars are going to burn you to death every once in a while. But that's okay for the first month. But after that, you're probably going to get pissed off like everybody does. And that's okay. But I'm excited to see how this plays out. And you always want to look into the future and say, man, I wonder what's going to happen. You don't want to know. You don't want to be like, oh, it's going to be Zoo, it's going to be True Draco. You want to have fun. And so I just wanted to put this video out there to get all of you guys to start thinking, what do I want to play? Not what's good. Not, oh, this is the best meta choice right now. What do you enjoy? What card art do you like that you want to put in your deck, that you want to play with? How do you want to be creative and make something different, something that's you? Think about that. Alright guys, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Feel free to like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.